Bridge family. Hope you're doing well. We are so glad to join you for another parent podcast, and we have Pastor Scotty with us again and his daughter. This is impromptu. We didn't have this like we thought it was going to be the two of us, and then she got here and started
upgraded this whole thing. I know it's already better.
I don't know about that.
We couldn't get Casey, so we had to settle for Scotty,
Yeah, right.
and the only thing we could think of to So
Yep.
now we have Candice. So you want to introduce yourself to us?
Honored to be here. Yes, I'm Candice, 22 years old, and the oldest of Scotty and Casey, and it's just so wonderful being the oldest because I feel like I got the best parenting, honestly.
Okay, yeah.
When I look back,
I feel
think,
bad for Candice because she.
Honestly,
sorry
no.
about that.
So
sorry
what
about
she's
that.
saying
Sorry about that.
is like you started strong,
Yeah.
and then because I thought maybe your
and had
brother
their full
learned-
And there may be
attention
some,
too.
and there may be some evidence. There may be some anecdotal proof of
I
that.
stand by that.
That is
I
so
think,
funny.
Yeah.
Well, last time that we were here, we talked about just meeting our kids where they're at, whatever that might look like, whatever age that is. But today we're going to talk about what do we do as a parent when our kids mess up. Mm-hmm. We know in the Bible it says folly is bound up in the heart of a child, and so kids are going to make mistakes. Like it shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, my kid made a mistake. Right. It's going to happen. Yeah. Some of those could be immoral things. Some of those could be just little things like, you didn't take the trash out, like I said. Right. But regardless of age and different things like that. But I think a lot of times we don't think through as parents, okay, we know our kids are going to do something wrong. I mean, sin, I guess we can say what it is. Yeah. But I don't know that we always think through. And so like for me, when we don't think through what we're going to do, then we start getting into the point where we're reacting instead of responding. And I can't think of a more crucial moment than when our kids maybe have made a mistake, because I think our reaction, we'll probably get into this, we don't want to drive our kids away. We want them to come to us. Yeah. If they get a parking ticket or something like that. I think we might hear about that. But so anyway, so Pastor Scotty, would you maybe just kind of help us? We're back into the school year, and it could be bad grades, it could be whatever bad decision, but what do we do when our kids mess up because we know they're going to?
Yeah, I even think, Ryan, what you're talking about right now is really just a culture that we can create in our home. Like for all kinds of conversations, all kinds of parenting or training, raising our children, but knowing that there are going to be mistakes that are made, sins committed, like sometimes it's an oops, sometimes it's like against the word of God, sometimes it's dangerous, sometimes. So I think just what we would want to, with the help of the Lord, do is create a culture to where it's not the if, it's the when. When it happens, how are we going to process it? How are we going to handle it? I know for us as parents, we'd want to be ready, because if we're not leading our own selves, well, we'll contribute towards the problem of it and making it a poor culture of how to really cultivate that in the hearts of our children. Or we can make that easier. I don't think we can ever truly make it easy. You can speak to it in a minute, because even though Candice would be a rule follower and does a great job, I think for all of us, we have that Adam and Eve, that original sin of, man, let's just run and hide, and try and get away.
Well, and I think sometimes as parents we think, oh, my kid's not going to do that, or surely I've been, they were just down the altar praying last Wednesday night.
Yeah, right.
It's still, I love that word culture, though. I like to think sometimes and ask myself the question, what is it like to be a kid on the other side of me as dad?
That's a great way of framing it.
What's that going to look like, feel like, even as a husband, what does it look like or feel like for Sarah? So maybe walk us through, what are some things that we process, when it could be that they've sinned or failed, whatever that might be, they've disappointed us. What does that look like?
So what we've tried to do by way of creating the culture that we're talking about is just instill it in them like before the moment, so that they just know this is something that you can hold on to, is who we are as a family, is the kind of atmosphere we want, the kind of mindset and perspective that we'd have just as parents, as children. And it would be when, not if, something happens, like run to us. Yeah. not from us. So in a moment where they're not battling already with guilt or shame or just trying to hide or isolate, but when, no, today's a good day, sun is shining, birds are singing, we're like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. You're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but your failure's not final. You know, the devil's going to want you to run and hide that or be ashamed of it. Don't do that. And of course, the story of the prodigal son is the perfect biblical picture of that. God gives us a picture of him as the father saying, this is what it looks like to say, regardless of what you've done, I want you to come back home. You know, I want you to come to me.
What are some things that you feel like your dad did? Because I think a lot of this is, we know they're going to make the mistake, but we're building that culture, we're building that relationship. What are some things that you feel like your mom and dad did to help build that culture where you felt like it was okay to run to them?
It's just like what you said about it was always proactive. So I remember car conversations where they would bring up hot topics or big issues that's like, oh, well, all of us and our friends are talking about this. We didn't think we'd talk to our parents. And they'd be like, hey, we're all going to talk about it. Like, we want you to hear our perspective on it. And one key thing that they always said was nothing shocks us and nothing will shock us. Nothing you ever tell us that you do or think or someone else does or something happens to you will ever shock us. So never feel like, oh, my mom and dad won't believe what happened or, oh, they'll just think of me different. It's like, no. And it also helped. They were youth pastors, you know, so they've got all these stories where they'll tell us one time, you know, this kid that did this and they came to their leader and they said, we always want to be like that for you guys.
I'm glad that she even mentions that because, you know, as a dad, you know, sometimes you're not shocked in the sense of it's a lot of self-control going on, right? You're like, oh, okay, well, hey, no, that's cool. That's awesome. But it was intentionality to say, hey, we want them to feel like not if I do this, it's going nuclear. You know, like if I let them know this all of a sudden. And so I'm glad that she even says that because it was a lot of just self-control, discipline all the time to create this atmosphere of, we can talk about anything. Because it can be
really hard. Like if you've if we've messed up, if your kids are messed up, it's hard to come and talk to mom and dad. And so if you freak out about the littler things that don't matter, you're setting that precedent of what's going to happen for the next time. So,
but just having it in their mind, run. I'm your safest place. I'm for you. Don't try and fix it on your own. Like I can help you. Obviously, they're feeling like, but you're going to be disappointed, or I disobeyed. I don't want to be honest with that. And so, how we respond in that moment when they do will either confirm, yeah, you do the right thing, keep doing that, or I'll never, want to admit or confess, something like that. So I got to tell you a quick story. Okay. So this one's about a Jordan story. So
and he's your 10-year-old son.
He's 10-year-old son. So 6 kids, 5 daughters. Jordan's the son. He's the youngest. And we had just gotten Apple TV, so you got the Apple remote. So he's just loving figuring everything out. I'm like, hey, I don't remember how old he was at the time, but I'm like, don't get up from here. We'll never find the remote again. Who knows where you'll leave it, but just don't get up from. So he gets up and goes outside, takes the remote with him because, of course, that's what you're going to do. So he takes it out there, drops it, and it shatters, right? So he comes into the room and he finds me. First thing he says is, Dad, you told me to always come to you, run to you, not from. So you hear that, you're like, what is this going to be? What did he say? You told me not to get up with the remote. I did, and I went outside, and it shattered. Well, in that, what's coming to my mind is, I told you not to do it. You have all this emotion, but I thought, this is my chance to be like, always do this. And so I was like, man, that's a bummer on the remote. But then just celebrated the snot out of.
Because in that moment, if you're like, I told you.
Yes, I just wanted to know that's the most courageous thing. Dude, I'm so proud of you. You know what a weak person would have done? Yeah. You know what sinful nature would, but you know what you did?
And then you can go outside and yell.
Right.
I don't know Jordan very well, but I feel like he would be a very difficult kid to get onto because he would be making you laugh. I don't know.
He's sweet.
He's a sweet spirit. He's a tender spirit, and he is hilarious. But I just love the fact that he just owned it. And I think that would be a second piece, unless you want to camp out more on that. I think we just told them, like, run to us, not from us. Yeah. And when you come to us, we want you to own it. In other words, again, this goes against our natural tendency, but don't make excuses. Don't blame others. Don't try and rationalize and reason away everything, because we all want to do that. I messed up, but it's because what he did, what she did. And so it's a big part to be like, okay, when you see it, you did it. Run to us, not from us, and just own it.
So in that, because I know parents are probably asking, there might be some of you who your child just broke your remote. Yeah. And so in that moment, how do you handle it from there? And we might be getting off your script, but how do we handle it from there? Was there any consequences for that? Was it like you're gonna, donate plasma and rebuy this
With your
remote?
7-year-old self, you're gonna figure it out.
Or is it okay as a parent sometimes just to realize, man, gee golly, that stinks.
Yeah.
This is why I said that, and then you just go on. Is that a grace teaching moment? Like, what do you think
that
on that?
it is. Well, even that word's great because I think that Jesus came as the Word in the flesh and he came full of grace and truth. Is grace and truth. It's not grace or truth. So I think that we err when everything's just like no big deal, no big deal, no. He's got to learn from that. Nor is it truth, to where you're like no, and you're going to pay for every last penny. So I think that you need discernment from the Lord, depending on the age of the child, the maturity, depending on what the mistake or the failure was, like how big of a lesson does this need to be?
Yeah.
So I think you got to contextualize it and just have discernment. But I think like for them to look at it and see it for what it is, part of owning it is accepting the responsibility for, I played a part in this, and here's what my part is.
Yeah.
And we can talk about what those next steps would be, but I know that you have a story of what owning it looked like.
Oh man, so many stories, but one that sticks
You
out.
look like a pretty hardened criminal. So,
Oh, man.
so you probably have a lot of
If
this.
every child was like kid,
you might have
she wouldn't
15.
need parents. Yeah, we probably had 30 kids by now.
I hear I was the kid that got in trouble the most, though. So I think that you were really consistent with
Well,
parenting and everything.
you responded well.
But I remember one time my mom had her car in the garage. I was supposed to take the trash cans to the street. I was trying to pull them through, couldn't quite get it, so just forced it through.
yeah.
So I
That's
just
what you
took the
do.
paint off the side of her car, and it's funny how as much as I felt just shocked or embarrassed or ashamed and didn't want to tell her, I remember running through the garage to go tell her. It was like there was this urgency about, oh my goodness, I have to tell Mom. And that wasn't always instinctive. Like I remember being a kid and I broke her favorite it was like a glass house thing, and I hid it in the pocket of my coat for weeks. And every day I'd walk around and feel the weight of that.
Yeah.
And that was harder than on
a good
the day
picture.
that I was in the
Wow.
garage. I ran, and it was this immediate, Mom, this just happened. I'm so sorry. And her reaction was, I think she laughed first and was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened. Let's go look at it together. And it was just a process of she came alongside me, looked at it, we talked it through. Why did that happen? Well, I forced it. Well,
But
why
isn't
don't
that so good, though? I think, like, for
Absolutely.
me and
Oh,
for
yeah.
all the parents listening, I think, like, for Candice, one, I think you showed us a progression of sin nature, put it in the
Right.
put it in the pocket. But you're
Right.
trying to cultivate just this
Yeah.
place of you're better off if you run to.
The immediate,
Yeah, it's not going to fix itself. Come to somebody who loves you and can help you.
Yeah.
But then, like, she could have hidden it. Nobody would ever know. Like, what happened? There's a mystery. We could never figure
There's
it out.
5 others to blame it on.
Right, hey.
But she would have known
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
would have still been carrying.
Right.
So just even helping them to see that and connect the dots on, no, this is a win for you.
Well, and I
Right.
remember driving down the road. We were joking earlier about random things I remember. We were on County Line Road, and my son was little, and he was asking some questions, and I really felt, I think it was the Lord impressed it in me, that before my son ever understands this God that he cannot see, he's going to understand an earthly father.
That's good.
And as you've been talking about this, what I've been thinking about too is ultimately we want to teach our kids,
Yeah.
you can run to Jesus too.
Right.
100%.
And I think that that's something that is so important.
Yeah.
Not saying that we're Jesus, but just
No, I'm
the
with
whole
you.
thing of confession and
Yeah.
and not hiding.
And how beautiful it is.
Oh,
Like, what a
absolutely, yeah.
win that is. Like, that's a gift from the Lord. And yet the enemy loves to convince us of just the opposite, right?
And isn't it funny too how yes, the enemy wants to convince us. Yeah, the enemy comes to condemn us. The
Yeah.
Bible says, and even as a young child, 3, 4, 5, I don't know how old you were. Like that condemnation can really come. So after they own it, what's the next thing that you have that you kind of work through with your kids? Kind of like the next step after you want them to own it is what happens next.
Well, I think even part of the owning and where it would go from there is just like, so what practically do we do with this now? Which kind of goes back to what you were saying a minute ago on any consequence.
So we're not
or,
saying just like, oh, thanks for telling
right. Run to me, not from me.
Yeah.
Oh, what a win.
Yeah.
But I just think that we start there.
But man, but that is so huge.
So that they just know that's what I want to keep reinforcing, because we want to celebrate the character side of it. We want to celebrate the courage side. Throw gasoline on that. Like, way to go. Hey, you're going to make some other mistakes.
Yeah.
Some are going to be bigger than this Apple remote. I'm just keep doing that, because you see, I've got you, and we'll do this together. But I think what there's also a responsibility to do is say, so what do you think that we need to do now?
Okay.
Like, what's the right next step? Sometimes
That's
it
good.
might be, man, I need to go and ask for forgiveness. And if they don't get there on their own, like if Jordan doesn't say, or if Candice doesn't say, I think I need to go to mom and ask for forgiveness. Sometimes I think as parents, we're meeting them where they are, but we're not leaving them there. We're saying, do you think that you should go and ask mom to forgive you?
That's good.
Well, that would be real. It would be hard. Do you think that's the right thing to do? Yeah, I think that I should. I think I should do that. Or do you think that you should pay for that, toy that you broke, from your friend? Or do we need to get them a new one? Okay, so let me give you a chore to earn the money, like age appropriate, whatever it be. But they're taking responsibility for it, because I fear, Ryan, if we aren't intentional about that aggressively, because remember, parenting is hard work. But if we're not doing that in this stage, they're not going to know how to handle failure later. And so now all of a sudden it's self-medicating, or if it's isolating, or it's, living a double life or deception, because they just don't know how to handle this is what I'm supposed to run to God. And we are a picture right now as parents, like this is what it means to come to authority or to trust in that and trust the process.
Yeah. You were telling a story earlier about a time that you got a ticket. Okay, so that is.
Yes.
I mean, I remember the first time I got a ticket. I pulled over and went to this family member's house I never talked to because I was so.
Yeah, what I did.
What are you doing? I was I just came to say hi.
I just need some comfort.
Because I was, but what did that look like? Because that was a great story of.
It's funny how my instinct when that happened was, I've got to call Dad. And I've talked to some friends and be like, oh, I would never tell my parents.
So we have a lot of law enforcement in our church. You remember, was it Oklahoma City police officer, highway patrol? Do you remember what it was?
Oh, man.
Is Arcadia?
Or Edmond, probably.
Or Edmond?
Because I was in
okay.
Edmond, yeah.
Okay.
But
We don't have any of them, so. All right.
So I was in Edmond, got pulled over, got a ticket. Instinct was to call Dad. Well, he doesn't answer. And I was with my sister, so she's like, we wait a few minutes. She calls him. We don't bother we should have texted, hey, Dad, got a ticket. But I was like, it'll be better if I tell him via phone, Hey, Dad, how are you feeling today? I was going to tell him, but just that instinct was to call my dad. Yeah. Well, time passed. He didn't call. I think you were asleep or something, taking a
He was
nap.
probably praying.
Yeah, probably was. You know me.
And we went to the lake, so we were out on the water, weren't checking our phones. We got back, and we looked, and there are several missed calls from our parents. Well, they think something's happened. The fact that both of us have called, we haven't contacted them, so they're out in the car looking for us. So they're circling the lake.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, oh, my goodness, now double guilt.
Did you have
double.
Find My iPhone?
Yes, he was trying to figure out.
And we had it, so I
where
knew
they're
where they were, but neither were responding. And even I was pinging their phone, they weren't responding to that. I'm like, what are they doing?
They call, hi, Dad. And I'm thinking, I got to tell him about the ticket. And he's like, where are you? Are you okay? Are you? Oh, yeah, we're doing great. He's like, you mean you're alive? You're okay? Doing what's? Yeah, I said, but I did get a ticket. He's like, what do you mean? That? I'm just glad you're alive.
Yeah.
He said that.
Who
thank
cares
God.
about
who
a
cares
ticket?
about a ticket? And so, as much as it was still just, you got to pay the ticket. It's like the release of feeling like, oh, you're not, upset with me. He's like, I care about you. Like, we'll figure the ticket out, but you're okay. You're alive.
Yeah.
And that reminded me of even just God and how when we keep our hearts right with God, that's all that matters. At the end of the day, are you living for the Lord?
Right.
Are you saved? Thank God no matter what I do, knowing that I have eternity secured, like that just is a safety feeling for no matter what I do.
This is such
That's a good story.
That's a great story. This is such a counterculture to because I said so.
Right.
Bring me the belt.
Yeah.
But maybe our parents or some of the older generation. Do you think that is just? You think we've? I guess maybe there's a place for that. I don't know. But do you think we've just maybe learned more from that state? I mean, to the people who are like, well, bless God, my parents blistered my behind.
Right.
I'd
I'd like to think that we're getting better and better, right? So we tell our kids all the time, you guys would be better parents than we are.
Yeah.
Like, take the good, leave the bad, but improve on it, and let's just keep getting closer to Jesus and looking more like him when we parent. But I think that there seems to be today, for parents who are actively engaged and taking this seriously, like the ones who are taking time to check out this resource, which props to you for doing that, because we all need encouragement, we all need help. For those, we just want to do it right.
Yeah.
We know this is our biggest kingdom contribution. It's not sermon I preach, book I write, whatever. It's like, this is what God's entrusted to us. We want to do it right. And so the last piece I would just say when it comes to the culture of it and being intentional about it is like, we care about the heart.
Yeah.
The attitude even more than the action.
Yeah.
So it's, what are you trying to create in your home? What is it you're going to celebrate? The other stuff, there's going to be junk that happens. There's going to be, you're going to spill the milk, you're going to break the remote, you're going to scratch the car or whatever. But like, what And we're all, as parents, saying, man, we're preparing them for that day. Like,
Right.
God's entrusted them to us. He has a plan for their lives, a purpose for their
Yeah.
lives. He's entrusted us to train up a child in the way they should go. So we're speaking to attitude, to heart, to courage, to
Yeah.
character, to integrity, those things. And I think that the actions will follow. But that last story, people have probably heard it. I know that you've probably heard it, Ryan, but the kid who was at church and his dad's like, quit sitting down during worship, stand up. And so the kid stands up. And he says, I might be standing up on the outside, but on the inside,
Yeah.
I'm still sitting down. And, so we don't want our kids
Yeah.
doing that. So
Yeah.
the culture will determine the heart. So we've got to just make sure that the receptivity is there
Yeah.
and that the trust is there and that the response is there with the help of the Lord, but
Well,
we're all striving
Whenever
for
I
it.
think of doing something big for God, I remember I'm a pastor. God called me to the ministry. There's nothing bigger I can do than to father my kids
Yeah.
and to be there for them. I mean, I was thinking about one time if everybody just did that, it solves 95%
Oh, man, wouldn't it
of
change
issues
so
that,
much?
Yeah.
Yep.
And not that I'm saying that we're doing that, but we're at least trying, because
Yeah,
we're going to make
making
mistakes too.
effort.
And I think as
100%.
parents, we've got to be able to give ourselves grace
Yes,
sometimes.
yes.
So, is there any tips that you would give to parents out there? All right, what is just when it comes to I can tell that you and your dad have a great relationship. Like, that's so fun. I want my daughter to want to go do something with me one day like this. Come to this podcast. What's one or two tips that you would give to parents for just connecting with their children?
In this season, so I guess it depends on what age your kids are, but I'd say through all of my just teenage years and growing up and having a different schedule, it's not like I'm with my parents all the time. So it was easy, you're growing up, you all end up at the
All right
dinner
there
table. But
together.
even now, it's just very few far in between that we'll all see each other during the day or for a meal. And one of the things that they've just done a wonderful job with, which I hope I can do someday, is they take advantage of the little moments. And I'd say 90 to 95% of the time we're having a conversation, it's like they're listening to me, asking questions. And not only do I feel like I have a safe space, I can tell them what's going on in my life, but then when the time comes I do need advice or I do have something, there's that heart connection where it doesn't feel like, oh, my parents are going to think I'm doing it all wrong and they're going to say, here's what you need to fix. It's like, oh, they've been on the journey with me. And sometimes we'll leave a conversation and you do such a good job with this, but you'll just leave and hug me and be like, I'm with you, even if you just need to talk more,
Yeah.
and feeling like I can go to bed knowing
Yeah.
I have that safe place. So I think just listening
That
is a huge part.
That is good. Here's my last question for you guys, and this is totally putting you on the spot. Did you guys have any just non-negotiables you had as a family? Like, we're going to eat dinner together. So it's back to school. Everything's crazy, and maybe there aren't any because, like you said, a lot of times those times just kind of. My kids love going to On Cue. Like, that's
Okay.
so we always tell people when my kids are as excited to go to On Cue or Disney World as On Cue, we'll maybe think about going to Disney World. But right now,
Yeah.
if we say On Cue, they're like, ah.
Oh, that's
Now,
awesome.
it might be just as expensive.
Right. It just depends on the day.
But so those are kind of just spur of the moment, although they kind of seem to happen like Sunday nights, like
Yeah.
if you don't have anything going on. But were there any non-negotiables that you had dinner time? We're going to church. I mean, I'm just curious if there were any.
Yeah,
of those.
there would be. I think it's just so important, like how we present it, because I don't know that the kids ever heard it like that so much.
Okay.
It's just we just knew early on this is all they know. It's just who we
Yeah.
are. Like this
Yeah.
is what we do.
Okay.
So it's not a matter of are we going to have dinner together. Again, Candice is talking about the different stages or
Right.
phases, but I'd say probably the first 16, 17 years of her life, like as a family, more nights of the week
100%.
than not. It's like, hey, we're all working. So Casey and I are the ones working hard to make that a priority.
Okay.
They're kind of along for the ride. So whether it is that or church attendance or involvement in youth ministry or whatever it would be,
Yeah.
definitely some non-negotiables that we just said this is the kind of culture we
Yeah.
want to have created in our
Even
home.
like Saturday night family prayer we have as a family,
Okay.
that was always a priority too. Of like, hey, you guys have your Saturday plans, but try to get here in time for family dinner. We're going to pray together and just worship as a
Yeah.
family. That was always a special time that felt like a privilege
Yeah.
that we would get to be a part of. So
Okay.
that's still a priority for me.
And it's just a given,
Yeah.
So when I think one of the hardest things for families is when you wake up on Sunday morning and say, hey, are we going today? Oh man, that's
Right.
now become
Yeah.
a battle. But for us, just Saturday nights. Oh, we already know what we're doing Saturday night,
Right.
unless mom or dad
Yeah.
have
And
a
I think
difference.
kids really like that's stability to them.
Yes,
they
that
love it, so,
consistency,
yeah.
so good.
Wow, man, this
Yeah.
has been so good. So, So we want to own it. We want our kids to own it, but first we want to make sure that they feel comfortable running to us.
Run to us, not from us.
And I think that because we know they're going to make mistakes.
Yes, right.
And not freak out about it.
That's right.
You might get together with your spouse later and be like, oh my gosh.
And involve them in the process of how are we going to deal with it.
Yeah.
Now, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And not just saying, here's what you're going to do, but have it just letting them process. So here's what we do with this now.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks for having us,
Thanks for
Ryan.
having on. We didn't even
Happy to.
we didn't give you a warning. or
No, we
anything,
put her on the
so-
spot. She jumped in.
I
So
think
thank you
she's
for
trying to
having
take
us.
Casey's spot. Casey, she's coming. I think she's trying to. No, I'm just
She can do
joking.
it.
Well, thank you guys so much for being a blessing to our church.
Thanks, Ryan.
And our parents. And again, parents, just like we want our kids to run to us, I just want to encourage you to, whenever we feel like we messed up, to run to God and know that you have other people here at our church through small groups or pastors or different people. You don't have to be perfect to be here. But man, we have each other. And we can help each other because at the end of the day, there's nothing more important than our children. So we love you guys so much. If there's anything we can do for you, please let us know. We love you guys.